Okay, we're down in the Russian River Middle Reach. We are just opposite what's called the Windsor Wells, and they're back up this way. And Rand here came up with a little piece of history. First of all, that bank is retreating pretty rapidly toward the wells. We're not quite sure how far it is. We're going to measure that in a little bit. But anyway, this is an area where bank erosion in the Middle Reach has been pretty active, and it's usually not this active. But one of the things you'll notice is that there's a very well vegetated bar on the other side that has trees that are probably 10, 15 years old. And so that's a fairly new feature. And so a flood like this now is much more effective in doing erosion when it has to go around obstructions like these vegetated bars. But one of the things that Rand told me is that this spot in the 1964 flood, which was probably, again, one of these 30, 40 year flood events, the river actually jumped this bank and went all the way over to the hillside, did what we call an avulsion, and took out the levee and just spread all the way across. And they had to come back in and do a fair amount of grading to clear it back off and take it back into vineyard land. But this something must have happened, like a log jam or some kind of obstruction or too much bed load, and the river filled up and just blew out one side, and so that's called an avulsion. And here's a spot where it happened in 1964, and you can see how flat and low that is over that direction. That's it. Okay, so we're on Bar 9 in the Middle Reach, and you're looking across at the Vino Farms property. This is a bank that's been eroding. We've been tracking this for about 25 years. And that bank has retreated over 300 feet in that time toward the east, toward that direction. So part of the reason it does that, or the reason it does that, is because this bar has been building up. This bar is now 18, 20 feet above the low water channel. In the early 70s and actually mid 60s, or mid 80s, this was pretty low. But you can see that it's still growing. You can see these, a lot of these willows and some of these cottonwoods are still being buried by sediment, the coarse sediment, this gravel coming in and burying it. And it kind of comes in waves. This area down here has also been buried. So this bar still comes up, and what's happening, the main focus of erosion is pushing this downstream. We're going to look at that in a minute. But again, it's losing all this large, mature riparian forest that's on that high bank. I think we lost about 7 acres of that in this site. And that property also lost a water well back in the late 90s to this bank erosion. So one of the problems is when you look across here, you see there's just a single row of trees. When those trees erode and come out, it's going to be in vineyard, and then the vineyard owner will probably be prompted to do something, like put in riprap or something like that. We actually designed a bank protection structure for this back in about 2000, and it was fully permitted through federal permits, but we couldn't get through the local planning department. But one of the alternatives that made a lot of sense was to actually skim this bar to take the pressure off the bank, and that was seen as being mining and not being a river management project, so they rejected it. Okay, now we're back at Bar 9 downstream. I just wanted to show you how high the water was this floods a couple weeks ago. You can see the debris hung up in the tree there. So that means the stage, or the height of the water during that last flood, about 26,000 cubic feet per second, was, probably 15 feet above our heads where we stand. And this is the bank on the outer edge that's eroding. Okay, so we're at the downstream end of Bar 9, and we're looking at old aerial photographs that are on Google Maps. And according to this, if you look at the map display, if you can see it, the blue dots are our current location. It has us in the middle of the river back in 2006. So I think that indicates how much the bank retreats. And also, right at this location is a pump house, which is, at this point, has a lot of, 2006 had a lot of trees between the river and it. And now it's, you can see it. I imagine about half of that bank is gone, right over here. And so you see all the recent trees that have fallen in, and it looks like anywhere 20-25 feet of bank retreat back over, gosh, at least 500 feet or more of eroded bank there. So this is still very active. And then we're standing on New Bar. This looks like it's at least a year old, but I think the 2006 Google Maps is showing that as an old shoreline right there, and this is how much, well, it must be 30 feet of build out a bar here. So this is pushing The point bar is building toward the bank, and the bank is retreating. But again, we're losing that mature riparian forest, the large trees. There's been a total of about 7 acres of loss here over the last 25 years. And once you get past those trees, you're in the vineyard, so it's almost there right now. There's just a single row of trees left. So it's getting pretty close again. The upstream end is looking pretty good. The focus of the erosion's kind of shifted downstream through time, so it's getting a nice willow base there. But again, it got awful close to that vineyard, and it looks like it's getting there to another pump house, another well. It already lost one well in this bank erosion. Okay, so this is phase 5, and this was dug in 2003?
It was somewhere around, yeah, probably 2002, 2003.
And so these were planted probably 2005, 2006?
2000, some of it was done in 4 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So willow at the toe.
We started in planting as soon as we could get onto the summer slope. They were still digging while we were planting. The idea is reclamation is supposed to be concurrent with mining, so we do our best to keep up.
Now I do see some Tulian bulrush coming out, just the little patches of it out from the willow. Was that shoal that was there, probably?
And it was shoal that was there, and we didn't plant that. That was somehow something got in there, which is fine. I mean,
yeah.
It's great habitat.
Yeah, and it looks like over... So this was planted all the way around?
Yep.
So there's 2 bands of willow on a sloping, kind of a flatter slope across the way, and that's from discharge of waste silts from the plant building out at Delta. And that's kind of part of what's going to happen with the levee plan to lower that levee. You'll be depositing a lot of these kind of deltaic deposits.